I've personally experienced a lot of hate within the community itself.
Agreed. Community, listen.
Thanks for having me.
Anytime you want to record raps, that'd be fine. There we go. So, I have with me Mr. Trevor Jackson. How are you doing, Mr. Jackson?
I'm doing pretty good today.
That's good. So we've got 10 questions here that I'm going to ask him, and anything interesting that he mentions, I'm going to ask him a little bit more about that. And we'll see how it goes. So, question 1. Who are you, and what do you have to do with the body modification community?
As you mentioned earlier, I'm Trevor Jackson, and for the past 10 years, I've been designing tattoos for people. I designed my first tattoo when I was 10 for my stepdad. I am a tattoo apprentice currently for multiple artists, and I do piercings.
Nice. Question 2. What modifications do you have?
Currently, I have 19 tattoos. I have 12 gauge snake bites. I have my septum stretched to 10 millimeters. I have my second holes stretched to 10 millimeters as well. And then I have my bottom lobes still currently stretched, but I'm letting them close up, and I'm going to think about restretching them in the future.
Awesome. What is your favorite mod and why? And this can be a mod that you have or a mod that someone else has.
For favorite one that I have, personally, I like my septum. It's definitely the mod that I'm most proud of because in the beginning I told myself I was never going to stretch it. And well, that didn't exactly happen.
Yeah.
But in general, I think I would have to say that implants are some of my favorite mods. I love seeing the different pieces that people, get implanted under their skin and everything, and it's always been interesting to me.
Awesome. By implants you mean subdermal?
Yeah.
Yep. What got you interested in body modification?
I would have to say it's when I saw my first design actually get tattooed on somebody, and it was a kind of a mix between like Darth Maul and Skull and Crossbones that I drew up when I was 9, and it had 160 tribal designs in the face and about 80 some spikes coming off the head. And my stepdad really seemed to like it, and he went and got it tattooed. And it was the first tattoo that I'd actually seen done. And after that, I knew that was something that I really wanted to get involved in because, I don't know, it just seemed to have so much meaning, and it just drew my attention more than anything else.
Awesome. So when you were 9?
Yes.
Wow. That's dem art skills. While modified, what jobs have you worked? And have you had any issues in the working world because of your mods?
I think I've had 3 jobs in the past couple of years, and that's when I've gone through most of my heavier modification stages. For 5 years, I was a youth soccer official for my local rec center. And at first, because of my piercings and my tattoos, the parents really didn't see eye to eye with me. Like, they were kind of uneasy about me. But as the seasons progressed, and they actually got to know me, I actually became preferred by both the kids and the parents over the, you know, typical sports players that also refed. I previously worked in a paper factory, working on post press, doing packaging and delivering, and I really didn't have any problems there. Most of the people that worked there either had tattoos or like had significant piercings. And then I'm currently a photographer and sales representative for a clothing line, and most of the people I deal with generally have similar body mods, so I don't really have any conflict or issues there.
Awesome. I used to play soccer.
I love soccer. It's such a beautiful sport.
I used to do pretty well, and then I completely destroyed my knee.
Ooh, that's no good.
And so went into gymnastics, because, you know, when you get an injury, you go into gymnastics. What do you think the community as a whole is doing right now?
As in body modification community?
Yeah, the body modification community.
I believe that getting information out there about correct procedures and health risks is definitely something that they're doing right. I've been seeing a lot more on things that like you should try to avoid when deciding what jewelry to use, or how to go about stretching your ears or stretching any piercing for that matter. But I feel like that's definitely hands down this thing that they're doing the best right now is getting that key information out to people who not only are part of the body modification community, but those looking to become a part of that community.
And a bit of a personal question, what method did you use to stretch your septum? Talking of getting information out there.
I personally, to start, I used pincers because, well, I needed something that I could easily, at the smaller sizes, flip up into my nose, and the pincer seemed to work the best. But as I got to the bigger sizes, like when I was at a 4 gauge, I used the method of like using weights. I hung my keys from my nose for about, I'd say, an hour and a half, and then after that I was able to fit in a 2 gauge pincer painlessly, so that seemed to work out. I did the same thing to go from a 2 to a 0, but then when I got to a 0, I used Teflon tape to get up to 00.
My mic's ridiculous, and when you like flick the button to mute it, it's like, oh, you want to mute for 10 minutes? Okay. Using weights to stretch septum, I've never heard of that before.
Neither had I, but I figured, if a lot of people seem to, find that it works with ears, I felt like a similar concept could be applied to the septum. And for me, I think that with smaller sizes, the weight pulling down on it makes a significant difference. And honestly, I wish I would have done that to start out with instead of just using pincers. I've personally experienced a lot of hate within the community itself.
Agreed. Community, listen. You need to take into account that there could definitely be problems with stretching anything.
Oh, yeah.
Awesome. What do you think the community is doing wrong?
As of recently, within the past couple of months, and honestly, I don't feel that's the way that you should be treating others. Like, we're already pretty much, looked down upon by people who are quote-unquote normal. And we kind of look for that sanctuary with people who share similar interests in, decorating our bodies. But lately, I've just seen people getting torn apart because they either went about doing something different than, what one person would do, or because they went about doing it themselves. In my mind, it's your body. If you want to take the risk, then that's entirely up to you, and nobody should hate you or, you know, attack you because of your decision on your own body. Especially people who do the same things to themselves and share that same passion. I just think that the body modification community needs to start acting more like a family, because to a lot of people, it's the only family they have. And if they're continuing to get ripped apart by that family, then they have nobody.
I completely agree. I think the community's sort of we've gone from being angry at the world to being angry at ourselves, and anyone new to the community who's like, oh, I did this today, and they just get ripped apart, and it's like, it's not what you're meant to do as a human being, let alone as someone who's meant to be supportive of others with the same interest.
Exactly, and no two people are going to go about the same thing with the same method. Everyone, does what works for them. And there's no point in attacking somebody just because they did something different. We're all a part of this community because we're all different from everybody else. And we should be accepted and, respected for that instead of hated and, attacked.
Agreed. The only time I ever quote unquote attack people in the community is if the information is readily there. If it's so obviously there and they disregard that information, that's when I get angry. That's when I'm like, what are you doing? It was so obviously there and you just ignored it.
And for me personally, I get a lot of people that ask me questions about how to go about certain things when it comes to body modifications. And if I personally don't have the correct information for it, I will send them to somebody who could accurately, tell them what they need to do without, massive risk.
Yeah. I tell everyone who I give information to that they shouldn't take it from anyone. You need to get multiple sources to make sure that that information is correct and standard.
Exactly. And for me, a lot of the times, if I'm unsure about something I'm doing personally, I will consult several of my friends who are both professional tattooists and piercers and have been in the industry for over a decade. And I make sure I consult at least 3 of them before I personally even do anything.
Yep. So, what is pain in relation to body modification for you?
For me, I think of pain as a temporary sensation. Anything you do to your body, whether it be getting tattooed, getting pierced, stretching piercings, getting implants, any drastic altering of your body, there's going to be some level of pain. But that pain isn't going to last forever. Some it'll last longer than others, but that pain will go away and you'll be left with something beautiful. So for me, pain is just a small obstacle to my overall goal.
Yep. Completely agree. How has your life changed because of your mods?
I would have to say it's helped me to become more understanding and open, I guess you could say. it helps me see that everybody does something, for their own reason, whether I think it's a good idea or not. Like, it's not really up to me.
Yeah,
And I guess it's
yeah,
helped open my mind to the different reasons that people do things, and like how those things are not only important to them, but as a whole kind of in turn affect everyone. Like, I guess it's almost really hard to explain for me, because like there's so many different aspects of my life that has changed because of my mods. But I guess overall you could just say, I've become more open-minded about everything in general.
also more accepting.
Yes.
What's one bit of advice you would give to people trying to get into the body modification community, or into body modification in general?
The biggest thing I would have to say is to know your body's limits. Some people, like Paulie, he can do so much to his body.
Yeah, I don't think he has a limit.
Yeah, so far he has yet to find it. But like, he personally has done so much to his body, so much more than I feel like my body would be capable of, or say a couple of my friends' bodies capable of. Just know what your limits are, and don't be too hasty to push those limits, because it could eventually end in some severe, consequences, whether it be
Catastrophic failure.
like getting, your lobes ripped because you stretched them either too quickly or you stretched them too big. Just know your limits, get the correct information about, going about anything, and take it slow. You have your entire life ahead of you, and you don't need to like rush into, doing what makes you happy. Like, for me personally, I kind of went on a tattoo binge when I got my job at the paper factory. I got about 12 tattoos within the course of like 4 months. And now, like, I'm having trouble getting like new ideas and everything. Just take it slow. You have your whole life ahead of you. Set your goals, and then just take it one step at a time.
Sound advice for everything in life. Take it slow. You've got ages.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Thanks for coming on and having a chat with me.
No problem.
I had a few technical difficulties as always, but hopefully we can get over them.
You always have technical difficulties.
Anywhere that you'd like the people to know about? Any pages on Facebook? Any websites?
One website, or well, Facebook page, I guess you could say, is Modified People. My good friend Jester, who is one of those people who constantly gets a lot of hate for how he's modified his body.
Upcoming interview, by the way.
Oh, very nice.
Yep.
He runs a very nice page showing the like beyond limits of what people can do with their bodies, answering questions that anybody has, referring people to professionals, if they have any questions that he can't answer. Hands down, definitely, if you're either looking to get into the body modification community or just are interested in body mods in general, definitely a good page to check out.
Definitely, I agree. And also in the description will be Mr. Jackson's art page, photography page. Anywhere else specific to you that you'd like them to check out?
Not really, no. There's a lot of, factual pages out there that will help with anybody looking to get into modifications. You know, talk to multiple people before you do anything. Make sure you have sound information, and have fun with your body. It's yours to do with whatever you want.
Awesome. Well, thank you, and hopefully we'll see you around.
Thanks for having me.